Welcome all students to the course of Data Communication and Networking, BE 7th semester Electronics and Communication Engineering. Up to now we have discussed in the last session the different transmission media, wired or wireless. So we are going further in the physical layer unit, switching. A network is a set of connected devices. Whenever we have multiple devices, we have a problem how to connect them to make one-to-one communication possible. One solution is to make a point-to-point connection between each pair of devices, such as mesh technology, or between a central devices and every other devices, just like a star topology. This method, however, are impractical and wasteful when applied to the very large networks. The number and the length of the links required too much infrastructure to be cost efficient, and the majority of these links would be ideal most in the time. Other topologies employing multi-point connections such as a bus are ruled out because the distance between the devices and the total number of devices increasing the beyond the capacities of the media or equipment. The better solution is switching. A switched network consists of series of interlinked nodes called as switches. The switches are devices capable of creating temporary connection between the two or more devices linked to the switch. In a switched network, some of these nodes are connected to the end system, computer system or telephone. Others are used only for a routing. Our figure shows a switched network. Over here, the several nodes or PCs are connected to the switch, which is shown in the yellow box. It is a symbol for our switching system. Our end system communication devices are labeled A, B, C, D and so on, and the switches are labeled to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each switch is connected to the multiple links. Fine. So each switch have multiple links. So traditionally, these three methods of switching have been important. First is circuit switching, second is packet switching, and third is message switching. The first two are commonly used today. The third has been phased out in the general communication but still has a networking applications. We can then divide today's network into three broad categories: circuit switch networks, packet switch networks, and message switch networks. A packet switch network can further divide into the two subcategories: a virtual circuit networks or a datagram networks. An entire classification of a switching network is shown over here, so you can understand it very carefully. We can say that the virtual circuit network have some common characteristics with circuit switching and datagram networks. Thus, we first discuss the circuit switch networks, then the datagram networks, and finally virtual circuits. Fine. So today, the tendency in packet switching is to combine datagram networks and the virtual circuit networks. The network route the first packet based on the datagram addressing idea, but then create a virtual circuit network for the rest of the packets coming from the same sources and going to the same destination. We will see some of this network in the further chapters. In the message switching, each switch stores the whole message and forward it to the next switch. Although we don't see the message switching at a lower layer, it is still used in some applications like electronic mail. We will not discuss this topic in this course. So, first is circuit switch networks. A circuit switch network consists of a set of switches connected by the physical links. A connection between the two stations is dedicated path made for one or more links. However, each connection uses only one dedicated channel for each link. Each link is normally divided into the n channel by using FDM or TDM. We will discuss in the further chapter. So the topic we are going to discuss in this session is a 3 phases, efficiency, delay and circuit switch technology in our telephone networks. So we can say that a circuit switch network is made of a set of switches connected by the physical links, in which each link is divided by the N channel. So our circuit shows a trivial circuit switch network with 4 switches and 4 links. Each is divided into N. N is equal to 3 in this figure. So N is equal to 3 channels by using FDM or TDM. We have explicitly shown the multiplexing symbol over here to emphasize the division of links into the channels even through the multiplexing can be implicitly included in the switch fabric. The end systems such as computers or telephone are directly connected to the switch. We have shown only the 2 end systems A and M for a simplicity. When an end system A needs to communicate with the end system M, a system A needs to request the connection to the M that must be accepted by all the switches as well as M itself. This is called as a setup phase. A circuit or a channel is reserved for each link, and the combination of the circuit or a channels defines the dedicated path. After the dedicated path made of connections or connected circuits is established, the data transfer can take place. After all the data have been transferred, the circuit are teared down or off. We can emphasize the several points over here. Circuit switch takes place at the physical layer. Before starting the communication, the station must make the reservation of the resources to be used during the communication. These resources such as the channels, bandwidth in FDM and time slot in TDM. Another is switch buffers, switch processing time and switch input-output ports must remain dedicated during the entire duration of data transfer until the tear down phases. The data transfer between the 2 stations are not packetized or physical layer transfer of signals. The data are continuous flow sent by the source station and received by the destination center, although there may be period of silence also. There is no addressing involved during the data transfer. The switches route the data based on their occupied band, FDM or TDM. Of course, there is an end-to-end addressing used during the setup phase, as we will see shortly. So we can say that in the circuit switching, the resources need to be reserved during the setup phase. The resources remain dedicated for the entire duration of data transfer until the tear down phases. Fine. Let's take an example. So, a trivial example, let us use the circuit switch network to connect the 8 telephone in a small area. Communication is through 4 kHz voice channel. We assume that each link must have a FDM to connect a maximum of 2 voice channels. The bandwidth of each link is 8 kHz. Our figure shows the situation of this example. Telephone 1 is connected to the telephone 7 and 2 to 5, 3 to 8 and 4 to 6. Of course, this situation may change when new connections are made. The switch controls the connections. Our switch controls our connection. Fine. So it is our circuit switch network. Let's see another example. And another example, consider a circuit switch network that connects the computer in the 2 remote offices of a private company. Just like this. The offices are connected using a T-1 line leased from a communication service provider. There are 4 into 8, 4 input, 8 output switches in the network. For each switch, 4 output ports are folded into the input ports to allow the communication between the computer in the same office. 4 other output ports allow the communication between the two offices. Our figure clearly explains the entire example. So, in our circuit switch network, three phases are there. So, let us elaborate each one. The actual communication in the circuit switch network requires three phases: connection setup, data transfer, and connection tear down. In the setup phase, before the two parties or the multiple parties in the conference call can communicate, a dedicated circuit combination of channels in the links need to be established. The end systems are normally connected through the dedicated links to the switches. So, the connection setups means creating the dedicated channels between the switches. For example, we have seen in the figure, above figure, that system A needs to connect to system M. Over here, it sends a setup request that includes the address of the M to switch 1. Why? A switch 1 finds the channel between the itself and the switch 4 that can be dedicated for this purpose. Fine. Switch 1 then sends the request to the switch 4, which finds the dedicated channel between the itself and the switch 3. Fine. On this type. Switch 3 informs the system M that system A is intended at this time. On the next step, to making the connection, the acknowledgement from the system M needs to be sent in the opposite direction to the system A. Only after the system A receives this acknowledgement, this connection is established. Note that the end-to-end addressing is required for the creating a connection between the two end system. This can be, for example, the address of the computer assigned by the administrator in a TDM network or telephone numbers in the FDM network. Second phase, data transfer phase. After the establishment of the dedicated circuit between the two nodes, the two parties can transfer the data. Right? Third and last, tear down phase. When one party needs to disconnect, the signal is sent to each switch to release its resources. So, entire three phases are completed: setup, data transfer, and tear down. So, what is the efficiency of our circuit switch network? It can be argued that the circuit switch network are not as efficient as other two types of the network because the resources are allocated during the entire duration of connection. These resources are unavailable to the another connections. In the telephone network, the people normally terminate the communication when they have finished their conversation. However, in the computer networks, the computer can be connected to the another computer even if there is no activity for a long time. In this case, allowing resources to the dedicated means that the connections are deprived. Fine. So, there is some less efficiency in our circuit switch network. Delay. Although the circuit switch network normally has a low efficiency, the delay in this type of network is minimal. During the data transfer of the data, it is not delayed at each switch. The resources are allocated for the duration of the connection. Our figure shows the idea of delay in the circuit switch network when the two switches are involved. This figure shows the network delay in our circuit switch network. Figure shows there is no waiting time at each switch. Right? It just forwards the data. The total delay is due to the time needed to create a connection, data transfer, and to disconnect the circuit. The delay caused by the setup of a sum of 4 parts: propagation time of the source computer request, slope of the first box, the request signal transfer time, height of the first gray, height of the first this, and the propagation time of the acknowledgement come from the another devices or the destination computer, the signal transfer of the acknowledgement, height of this gray, The delay due to the data transfer is the sum of the two parts, the propagation time, slope of the colored box over the data transfer, and the data transfer time, height of this portion, which can be very long. The third box shows the time needed to tear down the circuit. We have shown the case in which the receiver requests the disconnection. Fine. So it is our receiver. It will tear down our connection, which creates a maximum delay. Fine. So it is an entire delay diagram for this our transmitting and receiving nodes. So when our circuit switch technology is used in our telephone network, so what happens? We will see in the further chapters the telephone companies have previously chosen a circuit switch approach to switching in the physical layer. Today, the tendency is moving towards the other switching techniques. For example, the telephone number is used as the global address, and the signal system called as a SS7 is used for the setup and the tear down phases. So we can say that the switching at the physical layer is a traditional telephone network uses the circuit switching approach. Fine. So let's move ahead for another type. Datagram networks. So datagram networks is a part of a packet switching networking. In the data communication, we need to send a message from the one end to the another system. If the message is going to pass through the packet switch networks, it needs to divide into the packets for a fixed or variable size. The size of the packet is determined by the network and the governing protocol. In this topic, we are going to discuss the routing table, efficiency, delay, and datagram networks in the internet. In the packet switching, there is no resource allocation for the packet. This means that there is no reserved bandwidth for each link, and there is no scheduled processing time for each packet. Resources are allocated on the demand. The allocation is done on the first come first served basis. When the switch receives a packet, no matter what is the source or destination, the packet must wait if there is another packet being processed. As with another system in our daily life, this lack of reservation may create a delay. For example, if we do not have a reservation at the restaurant, we might have to wait outside for some time to be a vacant seat. So we can say that in the packet switch network, there is no resource reservation. Resources are allocated on the demand. In the datagram network, each packet is treated independently of the data receivers. Even if a packet is a part of the multi-packet transmission, the network treats it as through its excited alone. Packet in this approach are referred to as a datagram. A datagram switching is normally done at the network layer. We briefly discussed the datagram network as here as a comparison with a circuit switch and virtual circuit networks. We will compare it in the general afterwards. Our figure shows a particular datagram network with 4 switches. Over here, it shows how a datagram approach is used to deliver our 4 packets from a station A to station X. The switches in the datagram networks are traditionally referred to as routers. This called as routers, and that is why we use the different symbol for the switching in our figure. Fine. So it is a symbol of router. So in this example, all 4 packets or datagrams belong to the same message but may travel different path to reach their destination X. This is so because the link may be involved in carrying packets from one sources to do not have the necessary bandwidth available to carry all the packets from A to X. This approach can cause the datagram of a transmission to arrive their destination in out of order. Fine. So over here 1 2 3 4, over here 1 4 3 2. Fine. With different delays between the packets. Packets may also be lost or dropped because of lack of resources. In the most protocols, It is the responsibility of upper layer protocol to record or reorder the datagrams or ask for the loss diagram before passing them to the application. The datagram networks are sometimes referred to as a connectionless networks. The term connectionless here means that the switch or packet switch does not keep the information about the connection state. There are no setup or tear down phases. Each packet is treated as the same by the switch regardless of its source or destination. Routing table. If there are no setup and tear down phases, and how our packets routed to their destination in the datagram network. In this type of network, each switch or packet switch has a routing table which is based on the destination address. The routing table are dynamic and are updated periodically. The destination address and the corresponding forwarding output ports are recorded in the tables. This different from the table of the circuit switch network, in which each entry is created when the setup phase is completed and deleted when the tear down phase is over. Our figure shows the routing table for a switch. Right? So it is our destination address, it is an output port. Output port means, suppose our destination address is 1232, which port our packet is forwarded, it is given is 1, so our packet will be forwarded at this port. Right? So we can say that a switch in a datagram network uses a routing table that is based on the destination address. Right? Only destination address are there. So what is the destination address? Every packet in the datagram network carries a header that contains, among other information, the destination address of the packet. When a switch receives the packet, this destination address is examined. The routing table is consulted to find the corresponding port through the which the packet should be forwarded. This address, unlike the address of virtual circuit network, remains the same during the entire journey of packet. So we can say that the destination address in the header of the packet is a datagram network remains the same during the entire journey of our packet. What is the next? Efficiency of our packet switch network. The efficiency of the datagram network is better than that of the circuit switch network. Resources are allocated only where the packets to be transferred. If a source sends a packet and there is a delay of a few minutes before another packet can be sent, the resources can be reallocated during these minutes for the other packets from the other sources. Means a resource sharing is done by our packet switch network very efficiently. So there is no ideal time for our channel capacity. Third is delay. There may be a greater delay in the datagram network than in the virtual circuit network. Although there are no setup and tear down phases, each packet may experience a wait at a switch before it's forwarded. In addition, since not all the packets in the message necessarily travel to the same switches, the delay is not a uniform for the packets of the message. Our figure shows an example of a delay in the datagram network for one single packet. Over here, it is a transmit time at some waiting time, then it is forwarded, and another waiting time, which both are not same, and we receive at this destination. So it is our total delay. So what is a total delay? The packet travels through the two switches. There are three transmission times, A 1, 2, 3, means 3T, and three propagation delays, 1, 2, and 3, means slope of 3 tau in the lines, and the two waiting times, over one waiting time W1 and another waiting time W2. We ignore the processing time of each switch. The total delay is, we can say that, is equal to 3T plus 3 tau plus W1 plus W2. Right? So it is a total delay of our datagram network. So when we use our datagram or where we can use the datagram networks used in the internet. We will see in the further chapter the internet has chosen the datagram approach to switching at the network layer. It uses the universal address defined in the network layer to route the packets from the source to the destination. So we can say that the switching in the internet is done by using the datagram approach to packet switching at the network layer. Third is virtual circuit networks. A virtual circuit network is a cross between the circuit switch network and the datagram network. It has some characteristics of the both. So following topics to be discussed are addressing three phases, efficiency, delay, and circuit switch used in our wireless LAN or wide area network. So what is a virtual circuit network? It has some good characteristics. As in the circuit switch network, there are setup and the tear down phases in addition to the data transfer phases. Resources can be allocated during the setup phases, the circuit switch network, just like or on demand in the datagram network. As in the datagram network, the data are packetized and each packet carries an address of each header. However, the address in the header has a local jurisdiction. It defines what should to be the next switch and the channel on which the packet is being carried. It is not end-to-end jurisdiction. You can ask how an intermediate switch is know where to send the packets if there is no final destination address is carried by the packet. The answer will be clear that we discuss the virtual circuit identifiers in the next session. As in the circuit switch network, all packets follow the same path established during the connection. A virtual circuit network is normally implemented at the data link layer, while a circuit switch network is implemented in the physical layer in the datagram network in the network layer. But this may change in the future. Our figure shows an example of virtual circuit network. The network has switches that allows the traffic from the resource to the destination. A source or the destination can be computer, packet switch, bridge, or any other devices that connects another network. Fine. So it is our virtual circuit network. The end system are there A, B, C, and D, and switches are connected in this fashion. So what are addressing in a virtual circuit network? So there is two types of addressing used in our virtual circuit network. First is global addressing and second is virtual circuit identifier. So we can say that it is a global and it is a local. In the global addressing, a source or the destination needs to have a global address or an address that can be unique in a scope of the network or interoperability if the network is a part of the international network. However, we will see that the global address is a virtual circuit network is used only to create a virtual circuit identifier, which we discuss now. What is a virtual circuit identifier? VCI. The identifier that is actually used for the data transfer is called as a virtual circuit identifier. A VCI, unlike a global address, is a small number that is only a switch scope. It is used by the frame between the two switches. When the frame arrives at the switch, it has a VCI. When it leaves, it has a different VCI. Our figure shows that how VCI in a data frame changes from one switch to the another. Note that the VCI does not need to change the large number since each switch can use its own unique set of VCIs. Fine. So our incoming VCI have a 14 identification number, then it comes to the switch and when it goes to the another switch, it have a different VCI number just like 77. Fine. So it is a virtual circuit identifier. So which three phases used in our virtual circuit network? There is data transfer, setup and tear down. So in the circuit switch network, A source and the destination need to go through the three phases in the virtual circuit: setup, data transfer, and tear down. In the setup phase, the source and the destination uses their global address to help switches make table entries for the connection. In the tear down phases, the source and the destination inform the switches to delete the corresponding entry. And the data transfer occurs between these two phases. We first discuss the data transfer phase, which is more straightforward. We then talk about the setup and tear down. So, the first, the data transfer. To transfer the frame from the source to the destination, all switches need to have a table entry for this virtual circuit. The table in its simplest form has 4 columns. This means that a switch holds 4 pieces of information for which virtual circuit that is already set up. We show the letters how the switches make their table entries. But for the moment, we assume that each switch has a table with entries for all active virtual circuits. Our figure shows such a switch and its corresponding table. A figure shows a frame arriving from the port 1 and VCI have a port VCI number having 14. When the frame arrives at the switches, it looks in this table to find out which port is port 1, fine, and VCI number is 14. When it's found that the switches knows to change VCI to 22 and send out to the port 3, fine. So it will send to this port 3 containing the VCI ID as a 22. This figure shows then how a frame from the source A reaches the destination B and how its VCI changing during the trip. Each switch changes its VCI and routes the frame. The data transfer phase is active until the source sends all the frame to the destination and procedure at the switch, which is same as each frame of the message. The process creates a virtual circuit, not a real circuit, between the source and the destination. Means, suppose our data, our frame will use this channel or use this path for some time. When particular data transfer is over, this is eliminated. Fine. So virtually a circuit is established. That's why it is called as a virtual circuit network. Fine. Each have a different routing tables. Second phase is setup phase. In the setup phase, a switch creates an entry for a virtual circuit, just like over here. For example, suppose a source A needs to create a virtual circuit to the B. The two steps required: the setup request and acknowledgement. In the setup request, a setup request frame is sent from the source to the destination address. As we can see in this figure, a setup is there, setup request is there. A small a, source A sends a setup frame to switch 1. Small b, switch 1 receives the setup request from frame A. It knows that the frame is going from A to B, goes out through the port 3. How the switch has obtained this information is a point covered in a future chapter. The switch in this setup phase acts as a packet switch. It has a routing table which is different from the switching table. For the moment, assume that it knows the output port. The switch creates an entry in the table for this virtual circuit, but it is only able to fill the 3 of 4 columns. Fine, 1, 2, 3. This is a blank. The switch assigns the incoming port A 1 and chooses the available incoming VCI 14 and the outgoing port 3. Fine. It does not yet to know the outgoing VCI, which will be found during the acknowledgement step. The switch then forwards the frame through the port 3 to the switch 2. Switch 2 receives the setup request frame. The same event happened here as at the switch 1. 3 columns of the table are completed. In this case, the incoming port 1 have an incoming VCI 66, the outgoing port 2 but does not have a VCI. Switch 3 receives the setup request frame. Again, the 3 columns are completed. Incoming port 2 and incoming VCI 22, outgoing port 3. The destination B receives the setup frame that if it is ready to receive the frame from A, it assigns a VCI to the incoming frame that comes from the A. In this case, VCI is 77. This VCI lets the destination know that the frames come from the A, not for the other resources. Fine. Acknowledgement. A special frame called as an acknowledgement frame completes the entries in the switching table, as we can see in this figure. Destination, starting from this direction, reverse direction. Destination sends an acknowledgement to the switch 3. The acknowledgement carries the global source and destination address so that the switch knows which entry in the table is to be completed. The frame also carries the VCI 77 chosen by the destination as the incoming VCI frames from the A. Switch 3 uses the VCI to compare the outgoing VCI column in this entry. Note that the 77 is an incoming VCI for the destination B, but the outgoing VCI for the switch 3. Fine, because it is an acknowledgement, not the data. So don't confuse over here. Switch 3 sends an acknowledgement to the switch 2 that contains its incoming VCI in the table. Choose its previous step. Switch 2 uses this outgoing VCI in the table. Fine. Over here, this port have outgoing, it is an incoming, and incoming VCI is 22. Fine. Switch 2 sends an acknowledgement to the switch 1 that contains its incoming VCI in the table chosen in the previous step. Switch 1 uses its outgoing VCI in the table. Fine. So its incoming port is outgoing port for this switch. Finally, the switch 1 sends an acknowledgement to the source A that contains its incoming VCI in the table chosen in the previous step. So the source uses this outgoing VCI for the data frames to be sent to the destination B. Fine. So our A completes its path to forward their packet with help of the VCI's identification. Tear down phases. In this phase, a source A, after sending all frames to the B, sends the specific frame called as a tear down request. Destination B responds a tear down confirmation frame. All the switches deleted its corresponding entry from their tables. So we can say that what is the efficiency of this virtual circuit switching? As we see before, the resource reservation in the virtual circuit network can be made during the setup or can be demanded during the data transfer phase. In the first case, the delay for each packet is the same. In the second case, each packet may encounter different delay. There is one big advantage in the circuit switch network. Even if the resources are allocated on demand, the source can check the availability of the resources without actually reserving it. Consider the family that wants to dine at a restaurant. Although the restaurant is not accept reservation, the allocation of the tables is on demand, the family can call and find out for a waiting time. This can save the family time and effort. So we can say that in the virtual circuit switching, all packets belonging to the same source and the destination travel the same path. but the packets may arrive at the destination with a different delay if the source allocation is on demand. Right? So what are the delays in our virtual circuit networks? In the virtual circuit network, there is a one-time delay for a setup and one-time delay for the tear down, as you can see in this green box. If resources are allocated during the setup phase, there is a no wait time for the individual packets. Our figure shows the delay for a packets traveling through the two switches in the virtual circuit. So there is a two switches are there. The packet is traveling through the two switches or routers. There are three transmission times 3t, 1, 2 and 3 times, 3 propagation times t tau, and the data transfer depicted by the sloping lines and the setup delay, which includes the transmission and the propagation of the two directions, and a tear down delay, which includes the transmission and the propagation of in the one direction. We ignore the processing time in the each switch. The total delay time is shown over here is 3t plus 3 tau plus setup delay, over here setup delay, and the tear down delay. Fine. So where we use in our circuit switch technology, we will see in the further chapters that the circuit switch network or virtual circuit networks are used in the switched WAN, such as a frame relay or ATM. The data link layer for these technologies is well suited for this virtual circuit technology. So we can say that the switching at the data link layer in the switched WAN is normally implemented by using the virtual circuit techniques. So we have completed the circuit switching and packet switching discussion. These are some questions. Write down in your notebook and send back it to me as per the given direction. Thank you, student. See you in the next session.